of that?
Most of our funding comes from two billionaire brothers in New York City, whom we call the common people.
But we are also influenced by ancient philosophers, from the writers of the Constitution to hypocrisies.
I think you mean Hippocrates. He is the great man of medicine.
Socialism!
Oh, my!
Don't mind the fox mouse. He's had too much tea and bursts out insensibly sometimes. He must be respected, but only when incensed and at attention.
And that never lasts long. Now, let us focus on our study of hypocrisies. Oh, here, sit, child, and learn.
Rule number 1.
What?
Corporations are people.
You mean corporations are born, they grow up, they fall in love, they get married, and they have children, and they retire, and someday they die.
No, don't be absurd. What the hare means when he teaches that corporations are people is that corporations can have freedom of speech to use as much money as they want, influencing elections and purchasing politicians.
For example, oil and gas interests expended $22 million of free speech in the 2010 federal elections.
And because corporations are people, they need lots of taxpayer help, which their free speech gets them.
Why, that $22 million investment in free speech from the oil and gas industry will yield $15 billion this year in government handouts.
Marxism!
Well, I've heard those guys are pretty messy. Don't they spill a lot of stuff? I guess since corporations are people, they must get punished for what they do wrong.
No! Don't be absurd! Corporations are special limited liability people. When you do something wrong, like join a union or ask to regulate pollution, you need punishment. When a corporation does something wrong, it's just because they're maximizing profits. Thanks to the gospel of the new prosperity, that's never wrong.
So a corporation is a person who can't get punished?
They're not just an ordinary person who can't be punished like a Hilton sister. They're very rich persons who cannot be punished.
And with $67 billion in profits from the first 6 months of this year, the oil companies did a very good job of never being wrong by being very profitable.
But what about the messes they make?
Well, it's the job of the government to fix that.
I thought you wanted less government.
Liberty!
Now, only if less government means more profits.
For instance, we like it when the government gives the oil companies more public land to drill on.
Yes, we do, don't we? More leases on public land is the only way to get us to use the other half of the ones we already have and aren't using.
If you get more drilling permits, will the price of gas go down?
No, don't be absurd.
If we ended all the subsidies to oil and gas, the average American would spend $2 per year less on petroleum. Less than a cup of tea.
Tea!
Party!
Why is gas so expensive then?
Well, patriotic oil speculators add a lot to the price of oil, to a barrel, you know. And the two most patriotic speculators are the billionaire brothers from New York, which makes our Tea Party possible.
So let me get this straight. Corporations should have all the rights of people, but with none of the responsibilities. The government gives you billions in giveaways, but you won't give back even a penny. You aren't using many of the permits you have, which are demanding more. The billionaire brothers and their buddies who make your Tea Party possible are the ones raising prices that most, and if we all take away all the government gives you, it won't change what we pay at the pump.
At
Well, why do you call yourselves Americans for Prosperity? It seems like you are making everyone except a couple of billionaires a lot poorer. Doesn't prosperity mean the greatest good for the greatest number?
Class warfare! Prosperity is how much money the richest person has. Yes.
Now that's absurd.
Keep talking like that and we'll use our free speech on you.
Yes.
I have heard a lot about this Tea Party, but not much about the report that ending subsidies wouldn't cause prices to go up, or that speculation by you is the main reason gasoline is so expensive. Doesn't free speech mean anything?
Didn't you hear? We just bought the store from 5 Supreme Court justices we already own.
Well, what if somebody disagrees with you?
Then we will use our free speech on them. We have billions in speech we've used to do everything from keeping tax cuts for the rich to keeping working people from bargaining for fair wages. And thanks to these tea parties, the more public land we turn into private profit, the more free speech we have to spend.
Well, it seems like things are going great for you. Why are you always shouting?
Well, somebody else might speak up.
What would somebody else say?
They'd say protest in the corporate give-backs. Keep rights for real people and eliminate the tax cuts for the rich. They'd say organize. Write your representatives and replace them if they won't listen. They would say speak up every time you hear us say these silly things the billionaire brothers pay us to say.
So, would you like to join our tea party?
Well, maybe just a sip. That's not tea. You're just drinking the Kool-Aid.
Fine. That's just more for us.